enough a little most of that. Okay, so on the bottom of Mem Dalet Amud Beis, continuing with the dinim of naarah murasa. Yeah. So Tani Shila. Yeah, bottom. You see it 3 lines up from the bottom. Yeah. So Shila learned Sholosh midas for naarah. There's 3 midas by naarahs. Right. Now the midah here does not mean what midas means in Orchos Tzadikim or in the Muslim form, right? I mean, it sounds like there's 3 types of midas. That's not what it is. It means that 3 different types of misa that a naarah that's engaged. If a naarah that's engaged is mizana, right? So there's 3 different types of misa scenarios. If Adam come and say when she's in her mother-in-law, in her father-in-law's house, which means that she's already married, that she was mezana in her father's house. That she was mezana in her father's house.
Why is it a given that before she's married, she's in her father's house, and then after she's married, she moves in with the in-laws? Is that the way it was always done back then?
She's 12 years old.
So I'm saying she doesn't move. So the married guy doesn't move in with her father, with her parents. They move into the in-laws.
Yeah, usually the girl lives where the guy is.
Is that okay?
You're asking why. I think this is just it's like a mushal. Doesn't mean that they actually move in with the in-laws. I think.
Sounds like not possession's the wrong word, but it's a possession thing. Like this is what this is before she's married, is after she's married.
I get right. It's something like that.
Not a wrong word. The next Mishnah, that's the word the Mishnah uses. She's a possession. Before she's 12, she's a possession of her father. Then she gets married, she's possession of her husband. That's what the Mishnah says.
Right. Yeah.
Whether we understand it or not, but that's what the Mishnah says.
Yeah. So anyway, so okay. So but that's just a mushal, meaning the Gemara is just a mushal for that. She was mezana when she was engaged, but this whole case is happening when she was already married. So again, so on top of the Amud now, cycling right? So they give her skila al Pesach Beisavia by the door of her father's house. Kloimar. Why are they doing it by the door of the father's house? Kloimar ru'u gidulim shegidaltem. Look at the kids that you brought up. Right? Like Rashi says, from this house went out a Navala, right? Shabai Zinse. This is the house where see, this might be. What does he mean by that, David? It might be what you say. It says, in this house, she was mezana. Does that mean in this actual house, she was mezana?
I mean, right? if it's not, then what does it mean?
No, so I thought it meant you took the house. This is the house where this Minovelis grew up in. So we want to show that this is the house. But the way Rashi seems to be saying, it's not pshat that. Let's say they had a summer home, right? Yeah. So there's no happened in the summer home. So should we kill her in the summer home or kill her in a regular house? Sounds like I thought the pshat would be that you kill her in a regular place because it's just saying that this is the house that she comes from. But Rashi seems to be saying no, because she was mezana in this house, which then means that Beis Aviyah, Beis Chamiyah means dafka those, right? Yeah. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Fine. But Adam came when she was still in her father's house, that she was mezana her father. That means she's still engaged. Cycling is again we're just using engaged. It means she's married. She just didn't do the second stage of the marriage. So cycling is al Pesach Shara. We give her malka, we give her skila, by the entrance to the city. Right? Because that's what the pasuk says. It says you bring them out al Shar Ha'ir. Sarcha l'basayv bagra, This is the third case. If she became, sarcha literally means to be decayed. If she decayed, and in the end, she grew up, then meaning she became 12 and a half, then tita and bechenek, then she gets chenek just like anybody else who's mizana. Any woman that's mizana gets chenek, right? So Gemara, yeah. So we go to that's the third case. So the memra, do we mean to say the meaning? So before we go out to just explain that case. So basically, you have two options, right? You have two options. You have the option, really, the Maisa happened when she should have gotten skila. The story happened when she was a naarah, but she became a bogeres. She grew up. So now, at the time of the court case, she's supposed to get chenek. Right? So which one is she getting? Skila or chenek? So this Gemara says she gets it at the time of the court case, not when it happened. So as the Gemara, the memra, the kolech, the ishtani gufa, ishtani katala. Does that mean that when her body changes, her misa changes too? Meaning, does it mean that even though she did the misa when she was a naarah, right? But now since she's a bogeres, so she gets like bogeres. Or Ravini, I'll ask you, stira naarah, if you have a naarah who became engaged, that she was mizana, right? So and then when she was a bogeres, the rumors went out that she wasn't a basula, right? Who ain't it like her? Sela. He does not get malkus. Meaning, we said on yesterday and 2 days ago that if the guy ends up being a liar, so he gets malkus, and he also has to pay 100 sela. So, but only to a naarah, not to a bogeres. So what happened was that again she was engaged and she was mizana, but they only found out about it once she was already 12 and a half years old. So then he doesn't get malkus and doesn't get meya sela. He v'zaymemea makdim lebesa skila. And if she's taka wrong, and the zaymemin, then they go to the besa skila, so they get skila, which is what she's supposed to get when she was a naarah, even though right now she's a bogeres. So what are you going to see from this? You see from this that you go with when she did the issur, not from where she is at the court case. Now, before we do that, the Gemara asks a kasha. So Gemara says, does it mean that she and her zayim? You can't have she and her zayim, because if she's getting killed, that means they then were correct. If they're getting killed, then she's fine. Either her or the zayim gets skila, right? So whatever it is that you see from this brisa, that we go with, she gets the punishment of what it was when she did it, not from when the court case happens. So answers the Gemara, Marava, Matzi Shemra Kamrit. You can't bring any rayas on Matzi Shemra. Shani Matzi Shemra the Chidushu. Matzi Shemra is a Chidush. Right? Why? Because if you have a woman who gets married, chuppah means she did nesuin, but they didn't have relations, right? So really, she's married to him, but she's not. Right? She never had relations, and then she's mizana b'zinsa. She gets chenek, right? Because meaning every time you have a case of Matzi Shemra, the situation changes. She goes from being either a naarah who's a basula to a naarah who's a ba'ula, or to a bogeres, meaning so there's always a change. Right? So that's Ve'ilu Matzi Shemra, Beskila, and Stam, the Matzi Shemra gets skila. So what are you saying? That you want to bring a raya from Matzi Shemra, that you go with skila. You can't bring raya from Matzi Shemra. Right? So because Matzi Shemra, there's always a change. There's always a change in her status from when she did again. When Matzi Shemra, she was mezana when she was engaged, right? And usually it only comes out till after she gets married. So there's always a change in her. So therefore, even when she becomes a bogeres, meaning she becomes 12 and a half before she get married, and she changes from a naarah to a bogeres, we're still going to give her the skila, because that's always what we do by Matzi Shemra, right? But what about Sheila? Sheila says she was still, the Adam came when she was still just engaged, right? So therefore, we go with the regular chenek. Okay, so Amar le Ravuna Breder Rav Yeshua Rav Dilma ki Chadash Rachmana Heichadele Ishtani Gufa. Maybe when the Chadash meaning when the Gemara when the Torah gave a Chiddush, and it said that the Chiddush is that when even though she changes to a bogeres, she still gets her skila. Maybe that's when there's a physical change. I'm sorry, with this that's where there's no physical change. Right? But where she had a physical change, then of course we're going to say that there should be a change. Meaning in the first part, there's no change, right? She was a naarah that was engaged before, and now she's a naarah that's married. Correct? But by naarah to bogeres, there's a physical change. She became more mature, so maybe she's considered a different bria. So therefore, we don't like that teretz.
Was there a physical change, or it's not necessarily?
Well, the assumption is from naarah to bogeres, she gets shtei cyrus, right? I think that's the assumption. Naarah to bogeres, she has a physical, she has a more of a physical change, but from naarah to naarah, that's not an issue. Yeah, so therefore we don't. The Gemara doesn't like that teretz. So Elo Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Ishtani v'lo Ishtani Tanahi. This whole din of whether we go with the change of the woman or not is a machlokes Tanaim. Meaning again, the whole issue here is when she did this wrong thing of znus, she was really supposed to get skila. When the court case happened, she gets chenek. So we had a stira because who was it that said it? Sheila had said that we go with the way she is right now, so she will get chenek. And the Brisa says no, you give skila. So we have a stira. So now the Gemara is saying it's a machlokes. It's a machlokes tanoim. That's a machlokes tanoim. T'nan chatu ad shaloi nismanu b'nismanu. If they did a chet before. This is okay. Before we explain the case, you have a kohen gadol or a melech. When they do a chet, they don't bring a chatas. They bring what do you call it? They bring a seir, right? Either which one brings what? Kivso seira, right? So now, what happens if they did the chet before they became king or before they came kohen gadol? And then by the time they realize they did the chet, or by the time if there's bezdin involved, that's a whole thing. That's a whole different thing. But bottom line is they did the chet when they were supposed to bring the standard, and they ended up doing it. Then they ended up finding out about it once they're chayiv. Meaning they found out that they were chayiv once they were kings. Sorry. All right. So what type of animal did they bring? The way they did it when they did the chet, or not? So again, cheto ad shaloi nismanu v'nismanu. Let's say they did a chet before they were nismanu means before they were counted or appointed v'nismanu, and then they were appointed and then they get the punishment like yoitis, right? If they found out about it that they did something wrong, then they found they did something wrong before they got appointed, so they bring like the regular mission is manu beturim. But if they found out about it, then they're potter. Right? It says that they're potter. They're not chayiv to bring a carbon the way a king does. They're mechuyev to bring it they're not mechuyev to bring it at all, which is a real technical loophole. Right? No, I'm sorry. I by the way, I just said it wrong. The kohen gadol and the nasi the kohen gadol and the melech bring a par. A regular yid brings, a regular kohen brings a seir, a kivso seir, either a sheep or a goat, right? But the nasi brings a par. So again, so what the Gemara is saying is Reb Shimon holds, the Tanakama holds that if they found out about it, No, I'm sorry. The Tanakama doesn't care about Fania. The Tanakama says that they always bring it the way when they did the Avera, which means that they bring a goat or a sheep. Reb Shimon says if they knew about it before they were appointed, then they have to bring like a regular person, like the regular people. But if they found out that they did the chet once they were appointed, then they're potter. So the Gemara is saying, so that's a machlokes, whether you go with the time that they're judged or not, which the obvious question is, what do you mean? They're not, our Gemara is not saying that this naarah is potter from chenek, right? They're not saying the guy was potter, right? We're saying that that she's chayiv, right? So how can you say that this is the same case, right? So the Gemara says, Aimer the Shamis lay, Aimer the Shamina Layla Reb Shimon the Azal Apas Yediyah. The Gemara says, when do we say Reb Shimon says you even go when people know about it? The Azal Bas Yediyah V'Lay Azal Bas Achatas Mi Shamis lay. But to go with the Yediyah and not to go with the Chatas, did Reb Shimon say that? Right? Meaning he's not saying that you're gonna have to bring a korban. You're totally potter. And can't lysi korban ki dehashta. Right? Because if he says, then they should bring a korban the way it is now. Mashuach par, the nasi seir. The mashuach should be a par, and the nasi should bring a goat. Right? So clearly, it's not a machlokes. It's not saying machlokes is the same thing. Sorry, there's a little bit of noise back here. So Gemara answers, Tani Tidon Beskila. He says, no, we're gonna give him that you're gonna give skila. Meaning, so we're saying that if she was a naarah and then she was a bogeres, then she gets skila. Meaning it sounds like we're changing it. Right? So we're changing the price and we're saying that no, she's gonna get skila. So Gemara asks, the Torah says naarah marasa bogeres. She's a bogeres. Why? The Torah says when she's a naarah marasa, she gets skila. A bogeres gets chenek. Right. So how can you give her a punishment the way it was supposed to be when she was a naarah? It says the naarah. It's the naarah that she was before, meaning when she did the aver, when she was a naarah, so then she's the one. That's what she gets. Yeah. And so the Gemara in Tosfos says, the second Tosfos says that we come out that when her body changes, when she changes, the misa does not change. Right? You always go with the way it was before, learned out from the pasuk of hana'ara. So if that's the case, then why, if they were liars, if the husband was a liar, why shouldn't he get malkus? And why shouldn't he have to pay 100 sela fine? Right? Why is he potter as if it's a bogeres? Here's one of these gemaras that you can't really understand. He says Rachmana like should save us from your das. Right? Meaning your kasha is not even a kasha. Right? Adarabba. Well, it says the opposite. Rahmana nitzam midaita didach. Says back to him, no. We should be saved from your das. I mean, what is going on over here? Right? Saying, well, what is this? I mean, why in this machlokes? They're going at each other. They're not even saying why. Right? So I don't know. I'm not sure why all of a sudden here is saying, oh, we have to be saved from your das, and he says, Adarabba, we should be saved from your das. Right? The time of my, okay. So why does he say it? This one, her maisa caused it, meaning she was mazana, so that's why she's getting punished. Here, the husband, his akima svasa, means his bent mouth, his bent lips, caused it. Right? Zu maseh garmula kishehi zanai, naira zanai. When this one, when her maisa did it, when did she do the maisa? She did it when she was a naira. And this one, his mouth caused it. So when is he going to be chayiv? At that time, at that time, she was a bogeres. Meaning, so you can't compare his punishments to her punishments. Why? She's getting skila the way it was, like as a naira, because the bottom line is she did the action. When did she do this nus? When she was a naarah, so she's going to get punished like a naarah. Him, when did he lie? He lied only after they were married, right? So he should get punished, or as it would be when they were married. She was a bogeres, so there is no punishment. There is no punishment for a mitzi shemra. Once she's 12 and a half years old and he lies about his wife, there's no punishment for him. He doesn't have to pay the 100 sela fine. He doesn't get malkus. It's only on a naarah. And now why that is, that's all based on psukim, right? So that's what he's saying.
And he wanted
That's why
to
there was
kill
no
her.
kasha.
He wanted to kill her.
What?
And he wanted to kill her, and nothing happens to him.
Yes, it's a pella, right? I mean, if he did it with Adam, the Adam would get killed. But I don't know exactly what happens to him. Does he? There must be. Is there any responsibility on his end?
You just said no.
Are you asking us? You're
he
asking
doesn't
us?
get what?
You're asking us?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying I don't know. There's got to be something that he gets. Again, it's mamash. The guy's an idiot. He's got like if he waits till she's a bogeres, why should he go bring her to court when she's a naarah? And if he's a liar and he gets caught, he's going to have to pay 100 sela fine. And he's going to get malkus. Just wait till she's 12 and a half and then bring her to Bezdin. Right? Then if he gets caught, he goes off scot-free.
Well, there's probably a time frame.
Yes, he can't, right. He won't be able to sleep with her from when he first, let's say he's doing it out because he sees Pesach Pasua. I think we said this before, right? That once he claims Pesach Pasua, if he sleeps with her again, no, then he can't come with the taina, right? So he'll have to sacrifice on that. But
he has another wife anyway. No big thing.
Yeah, Mr. Add on to the kasha. Okay. Anyways, he got multiple wives. Yeah, nobody's going in. No. It's just mop. No, sorry. Sorry, the whole Stein crew from my mother's house just showed up here in the camp, so I got to keep them out of the bungalow because we're trying to keep it clean. All right, I apologize for the. Fine. Tanur Rabbanan. Yeah. So naarah murasa shezinsa. So you have a naarah murasa that was mezana. Cyclin Isa al Pesach Pesavia. We give her malkus by her father's door. No going in, guys. No going in. I'm sorry. I need to get a different security guard here. Can't multitask.
Move in front of the door.
You're right. There's too many bugs from the light.
I feel like the
You gotta
internet
know
connection
how
won't
to
be so good there
work
then.
the outdoors. What?
I feel like the internet connection won't be so good there.
Anyways, okay, so don't know about it. Naira Marasa Shazinsa. Avrami, those were our mutual nieces, nephews, by the way, Avrami. So watch out. Okay, so Torah about it.
Last name's fine.
Naira Marasa Shazinsa. So a naira that's engaged, that she was mezana. So Cyclonas al Pesach Pesavia, we give her skila by her father's door. Right? That's if it's done by Adam. Ain la Pesach Pesavia. If she doesn't have, her father doesn't have a house. Cyclonas al Pesach Shara. Then they bring her to the gates of the city, and that's what she gets skila. Ubeir Sharuba Abdikachavim. And if it's a city that's a majority goyim, Cyclonas al Pesach Bezdin, and they do it by the entrance of Bezdin. Right? So Taisa says it doesn't mean at the door of the Bezdin. It's lav dafka. He says it's right outside Bezdin, because you don't want Bezdin to look like a killing Bezdin, right? So I'm not sure exactly how that works, but
so the other doors or gates that's literal, but this one is not.
Correct. That's exactly what it's saying. By the father's house, it's mamish in the doorway. By Bezdin, not, because we don't want Bezdin to look like it's a killing Bezdin. Yeah. And I guess, well, it's the truth is it's talking about a city that's mostly goyim, right? So then maybe it's a little different because of that. All right. Somebody who does avoda Zara cycling, I say al shar sha'avar, you give him skila at the city of the gates of the city that he did avoda Zara. Ubir Sharuba of the Kavim, and if it's a majority of Goyim, cycling, I say Al Pesach Pesavia, we give skila on the door of the base. I'm sorry, Al Pesach Pesach on the base by the Pesach Pesach. How do you know all this? The Tanur Rabbanan Sharecha, it says in your gates. Zeh shar she'avad boy. That's the shar that he did avodah Zara. Atoimer shar she'avad boy. Ain't ela shar she'nidin boy. Is it the shar that of the city that he did the avodah Zara in, or maybe it's the city of where he got judged? So nemar sharecha lamata. It says the word sharecha, and later in the parsha, and nemar sharecha lamala, and it says sharecha earlier. Ma sharecha lamala shar she'avad boy. Just like we said before, it's the shar that he did of the city that he did avodah Zara. That's it's in the shar of the city that he did avodah Zara. It's the gates, but not the gates of Avdei Kechavim. Right? Meaning when Raiv of the city is Avdei avodah Zara, so you don't do it. You don't do it by the shar. So how are you learning that out? We already learned it out for something else. To tell us about that he gets the skila the city where he did avodah Zara. Same can't name across sha'ar. Why doesn't it just say sha'ar? My sha'ar recha. What does it mean by your gate? Shmami not tarti. So we learn out two dinim that he gets skila of the city where he did avodah Zara, and you only do it by the gate of a city that belongs to Yidden, not of a city that belongs to Goyim. So Ashkechan, okay, so this all tells us that somebody who did avodah Zara gets stoned, but by the gates of the city. Naarah hamurasaminol, and how do we know that a naarah that's engaged? Where do we know that she has the same halachas that if she doesn't go Beis Aviyah, she goes Sharair? Samarava Gomar Pesach be Pesach. We learn out the word Pesach from Pesach. The Pesach mishar and Pesach from the gate. B'shar misharecha and shar from the word sharecha. So we're running the limud all the way around to say that the same dinim apply that apply to avodah Zara apply to naarah marasa too. Fine. So Tana Rabbanon, a mitzi shemra like a v'noisa meya sela. So somebody who's mitzi shemra, right? He lies about his wife, so he a naarah only. Then he gets malkus and he has to give 100 sela. Yehuda I'm the lilkos like a mikom makom. When he gets malkus having nothing to do with whether he actually slept with his wife or not. Right? Meya sela, but the 100 sela, baal noisen, loy baal, come back in 10 minutes, yeah? Baal noisen, loy baal ain't noisen. If he was baal, then he gives it. If he was not baal, then he does not have to pay.
Why? What's the nafkamina?
What are you saying?
What's the nafkamina?
Oh, so that we're going to see now. So that's totally in our Machlokes.
What's Tosis saying when we're not going to say?
What?
What does Tosis mean when it says we're not going to say?
What is Tosis? But Tosis is talking about why you get malkus.
Yeah, Almighty Shemra. Like him a nice mesa. Oh no.
Because it's rechilus. Meaning Rashi says that the reason is for why is he getting malkus? So he's saying it's rechilus, even though rechilus talking is a lav shein by Maisa.
So you're getting malkus for rechilus?
What? Yes, that's Taisis Kasha though. It's a lav shein by Maisa. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay, but that's a whole long time. But let's see what's the pshat in the Machlokes again. The Tanakama holds that a mitzi shemra gets malkus and has to pay 100 sela. Rabbi Yehuda, right? It doesn't make a difference whether he slept with her or didn't sleep with her. Rabbi Yehuda says malkus he'll always get, right? 100 sela. He's only gonna have to pay 100 sela if he was boil her. Right? If he was not boil her, then he doesn't give it to her. What's a machlokes? Their machlokes is the same machlokes of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov and Rabbanon, right? Which we're going to see later, which you actually see before, and we're going to have it later also. That we're only that the einish according to Rabbi Eliezer is if he not mezana, but if he slept with his wife. Right, because that's the way it sounds like from the pasuk, right? And the Chachamim say no, it doesn't make a difference whether he was with her or he wasn't with her. Yeah, this is what he's saying. If somebody who's mitzi shemra, he gets malkus and he has to give 100 sela. Bain bal, bain shaloi bal. That's regardless of whether he slept with her or not. Kirabanan, that goes with the rabbanan. Yehuda, Lilkas loika mikomakim. He always gets malkus, but mea sela bal noisan loy bal ain't noisan. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, that's like Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. That's one way of looking at it. That it's the same machlokes. Igad amri. Some say no. Kula Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. Everybody holds like Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, right? That he has to, in order to get mea sela, he has to have slept with her. This is what we're saying. Somebody who's mitzi shemer gets malkus and has to give 100 sela. But who shabal? But that's if he was boiled. Yehuda Aimer Lilkas loika mikomakam. Yehuda says she gets malkus. He gets malkus mikomakam. Right, even if he wasn't mezana with her, not mezana, even wasn't boiled. So Gemara asks, the Savar of Yehuda Lilkas loika mikomakam. Does he really get malkus regardless? But Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Baal loika loy baal ain't a loika. Rabbi Yehuda says that if there was bia, he gets malkus. If there was no bia, he doesn't get malkus. When we say loika, he's not getting legitimate malkus. He's getting what a malkus that the rabbanon give you when you're over. The rabbanon have the power to give a malkus whenever they want. If you over on an issur, so it doesn't mean the real malkus, right? Now Rapapa Amar, my ball like the Katani Hasam, Mammon, right? A fascinating thing. Rapapa says malkus doesn't mean malkus; it means money, right? He gets hit, like when you this like maybe is this where the phrase comes from? I got hit with a loss. I wonder if this is right. Somebody says I got hit with a loss, right? That's what this Gemara is saying.
Hit your pocket.
Right, yeah, got hit the pocket, whatever it is. He's saying that's from here. We're saying malkus means that he has to pay mammon. The correlates. I'm going to ask the correlate the mammon malkus. Do we call mammon malkus? Yes, we do. But Tanan, we have a case like that. I'm a chatzi erchil. Somebody says I'm giving half of my. Again, we said last week sometime. We said that there's something called erchin, and erchin is that a guy says, I'm going to give my worth. It's sort of like you make a mishaberach for a guy. But you don't get away with giving $5. You want to give the worth of the guy. So you have to evaluate how much the guy is worth. Right? And everybody, depending on their age, has, right? There's erchin and there's damin. So erchin is a set amount. A 20-year-old gets, his worth is $100. I'm just making up numbers. A 21-year-old is maybe 105. And then it starts whatever based on the age. So if a guy says, I'm giving half of my worth, nice and chati erka, so he gives half his worth. He gets malkus, and if a nice and erech shalom, he has to give his full value. So Gemara says, loika amai, why is he getting malkus for? What did he do wrong? He said, I'm donating half of this guy's worth. Right, what's the big deal? So Papa, loika be'erech shalom, he's getting malkus because he doesn't pay half. He has to pay the whole thing, meaning he meant to donate to the Beis HaMikdash half this guy's worth. We say, no, we're going to hit him and we're going to make him pay the whole thing. So so you see that hitting has an association with the financial loss. But how come he can't pay half? My timer. So the Gemara says, Gezeira chati arka yatu erech chetziar. Because it's a gezeira. If he says half of what he's worth, that's okay. But it's a gezeira atu erech chetziar. If a guy says that he's giving erchin of his half, meaning you can't give, it's a technical point here. You can give half of what somebody's worth. You cannot give half of his body. That you can't do. You can't donate half a body to the Beis HaMikdash. You can donate half of what somebody's worth. You can't donate half a body. Right? Now, what does this mean? If you're going to give an erech of a half a guy, then that's like giving an erech of an Eber that the neshama is hanging. Right? So meaning, because if you're taking away half his head and half of his nose and half of his eye, well, half his eyes it works, half an ear it works, but I guess half a brain doesn't work, half a heart doesn't work. I don't know what the other. I don't know what other. Half a heart. You're saying nowadays maybe could work. You're saying. Okay.
No, I was saying half a brain nowadays would work.
Half a brain. We're not talking about colloquial. We're talking about physical.
Yeah, half
okay?
a brain probably always work.
When
Right,
they
so-
say you do something half, that doesn't count, or
I
We have
guess.
to stop the recording for that one.
I hear. But anyway, so what the Gemara is saying, to give the worth of half of somebody is okay, but to give the worth of his half, that doesn't work. Meaning, if you're giving half of somebody, the way I understand it, you're giving half of meaning you're just giving half of his worth. But to give half his body, then you have to split his entire body. That you can't do. So that doesn't work. So therefore, he has to give the entire worth. And we say we give him malkus, meaning we're hitting him that he has to give. He thought he's going to make a mishaber for the guy and pay half of him. But really, we say, no, you can't do that because it caused a lot of confusion. Therefore, we're hitting you and you got to do the whole thing. So therefore, you see that malkus could mean mammon. Okay, fine. Tomorrow night will probably be earlier if that's okay. I'll text it out. It'll probably be again like 7-ish, something like that. A little before 7. All right, but if it doesn't work, then you should let me know or I'll put it out there. Okay, a good tvach and a good yom.
Yaakov, I had a shadow, yeah?
Yeah.
Erev Shabbos, it was already after the Shkia, probably Ben Ashmushes. By timer, I was still on the bungalow colony time, so I didn't realize that Shkia was 7:47 down here. So my timer was still on, and it kept going off. So I had my nephew was here, and I asked him if he's a little kid, he couldn't do it. And I realized it's still Ben Ashmushes. I just said, hey, Siri, shut the timer off. Is that wrong?
Again? 1 second. Siri, what? The timer on
phone,
what? On the stove?
On my phone. No, on my phone. It kept beeping. At a time I was cooking something. I had the time. I didn't realize that it kept repeating itself. It was already after Shkia. I just finished davening mincha because I'm Hasidish on Friday. And I tried to have one of Bodie's kids try to shut it off. He didn't know how to do it. Then I just said, wait a minute, it's been a shmush. What am I doing already? I just said, hey, Siri, shut the timer. And it shut off the timer.
I said, but why? But something happened on the phone. Something happened on the phone when you did it?
It says the timer's off. Okay, I shut your timer.
I'm saying, why is that any different than doing something else electric?
No, I didn't touch anything. All I did was speak. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't do anything. I just said, what?
Today's daf. Lav shein by Meiser.
Did we ever do a share on the Alexa,
yeah,
Siri,
we did,
and all of that?
We did. It's definitely better.
We did,
talking
right?
Talking is definitely better than
touching it.
Than touching it. But I don't think we'd be mocked to that.
Even Ben Ashmushes?
What about clapping? Remember the clapper?
Right, the clapper. Right.
Clap on, clap off.
Yeah, same type thing.
What did you say about tomorrow night? What time you planning?
Probably before the Olam's Mincha Ma'ariv.
I'm against the leaving. Yashikayev. I get the knock.
Oh yeah, Taka. Yeah. All right. Unless it's too early. If it's too early, I could do it after.
No,
what time
I'm
the
good.
Ma'ariv's over in town?
I can't imagine not starting by 7:30. The Minchas Ma'ariv.
No. Never on
Shkia tomorrow is going to be like 7:45.
Yeah. What do you say?
Ma'ariv's going to be over by 8 o'clock. Shkia tomorrow is 7:45. I'm fine. Whatever you do. I just wanted to plan my day. That's it. Nothing's too early for me.
Truth is,